Atlanta had seen messy scandals before, but the storm that began inside Kendra Robinson's quiet law office was something different. This wasn't a staged screaming match at a reunion, it wasn't one of young Jock's goofy Instagram rants. And it wasn't a messy live stream gone viral. This was silence, calculation, and betrayal written in ink. The polished attorney who prided herself on discipline and control sat under the dim glow of a desk lamp, her fingers tapping the edge of a stack of papers that carried more power than any argument ever could. They weren't client contracts or court filings. They were divorce papers, drafted in her own words, signed with her own name, and staring back at her like a weapon she wasn't sure she wanted to use. She told herself it was leverage, a reminder that she wasn't trapped. A warning to Jock that she could walk away at any moment. But once words are put on paper, once a wife signs her name beneath the word petitioner, the intent can never be erased. For years, critics had mocked Kendra for standing by a man whose life was chaos. Jock had 8 children by multiple women, a history of viral scandals, and a reputation for running his mouth in ways that always made headlines. And every time she defended him, every time she claimed she trusted him, people rolled their eyes. She wasn't just his wife, she was a contradiction. The disciplined lawyer tied to the most undisciplined man on television. Each messy headline chipped away at her patience until one night she cracked, and instead of arguing, instead of begging, she did what came naturally. She put it on paper. But Atlanta has a way of exposing secrets, and nothing written ever stays hidden. Someone in her circle saw the papers. Maybe an assistant, maybe a paralegal, maybe even a so-called friend. Someone pulled out their phone, snapped a photo, and let it slip into the wrong hands. At first, it passed through private group chats like a secret too juicy to keep. But within hours, the blogs had it. The headline was brutal: Attorney Kendra Robinson drafts divorce papers against young Jock. The photo was blurry, but clear enough to see Jock's name under respondent. And once it hit the internet, context no longer mattered. The reaction was instant and merciless. Fans split into camps within minutes. Some called Kendra a boss, praising her for checking her man with the same legal tools she used in court. Others dragged her as manipulative and cold, accusing her of weaponizing the law instead of protecting her marriage. Memes mocked her as the lawyer who couldn't defend her own love life. Think pieces popped up debating whether drafting fake divorce papers was empowerment or toxicity. In a single night, Kendra's polished brand cracked wide open. Meanwhile, Jock was clueless. He was in the studio, laughing with his crew, when his phone began to buzz over and over. At first, he ignored it, until the first screenshot came through. His face dropped. His name, under the word respondent, glared back at him like a scar. By the second message, his smile was gone. By the third, silence replaced his jokes. For a man who lived for social media, who thrived on attention and petty captions, his sudden quiet said everything. When Jock came home that night, the confrontation was explosive. His voice wasn't loud at first, it was sharp, steady, deadly calm. "You really wrote these? You sat down and put my name on papers like I was just another client?" Kendra didn't deny it. She admitted it was her hand, her words, her signature. She swore it wasn't about leaving, it was about control, about forcing him to take her seriously. But to Jock, there was no difference. It wasn't leverage, it was betrayal. The argument spiraled fast, years of resentment spilling into the open. He accused her of being manipulative, cold, and two-faced. She snapped back that he was careless, immature, and reckless with their vows. And then he delivered the line that sliced through everything: "You didn't draft those papers for love. You drafted them to control me." The words poisoned the air. And even Kendra couldn't deny it.by morning, the internet had claimed the story as its own. Castmates whispered, baby mamas sent smug texts, and bloggers flooded timelines with new, insider claims. The hashtag Kendra's papers lit up feeds, and the polished attorney who once bragged she would never let reality TV define her life was now defined by it more than anyone else. But it wasn't the blogs that cut deepest. It was Jock's silence. For a man who couldn't stay off Instagram, who lived to clown himself online, his refusal to say a single word became the loudest response of all. Fans refreshed his page like detectives waiting for a cryptic caption, but nothing came. And as the hours passed, the city knew one thing for sure: the silence wouldn't last, the silence couldn't hold forever. For young Jock, being quiet was torture, and Atlanta felt the tension. The city thrives on noise, arguments, shade, messy lives broadcast online, but this time there was only a heavy pause that made everyone uneasy. People kept asking, "Where's Jock? Why he so quiet? Why he ain't clapping back?" Every hour that passed only made the leaked papers look more real, and every minute of his silence felt like an admission of guilt. Fans turned his Instagram into a crime scene, searching for clues in old posts, refreshing his page like detectives waiting for the next move. Instead of petty jokes or sarcastic captions, there was nothing. Just silence, and silence from Jock. Was louder than a scream, but behind closed doors, he was boiling. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing, notifications stacked with memes calling him the clown who finally got checked by his own wife. Some comments dragged him, laughing that the player had been outplayed. Others defended him, saying Kendra had never truly trusted him if she was drafting paperwork behind his back. The internet became a battlefield, divided into two camps. On one side was #Team Kendra, celebrating her as a boss who knew how to keep her man in line with legal precision. On the other side was #Team Jock, furious at the idea of a wife turning her marriage into a courtroom. It wasn't just gossip anymore, it was a full-blown debate about power, love, and respect. After days of holding it in, Jock finally broke his silence. He didn't type out a statement or hide behind a caption. He went live. The feed lit up instantly, thousands joined within seconds. He was pacing, his phone shaking in his hand, his voice cracking with the weight of bottled-up anger. "You didn't draft them papers for love, you drafted them to control me," he said, staring directly into the camera. "Y'all call me crazy, y'all call me immature, but look who y'all praising now. A lawyer. A wife. My wife. Sitting in her office drawing up fake divorces like I'm nothing but another case file. If you can write my name under respondent like it's nothing, tell me how I'm supposed to believe you ever believed in me." His words were raw, jagged, the kind that cut deeper because they were honest. Within minutes, clips of the live were everywhere. Blogs reposted it, fans clipped soundbites, and memes flooded timelines. One phrase stood out and went viral, not respondent, just resentment. That line became a cultural moment, plastered on photos, repeated in captions, thrown around in shady tweets. And for the first time, the internet didn't just laugh at Jock, they saw his pain. They saw a man who had been embarrassed, blindsided, and stripped of his dignity. Castmates couldn't resist adding fuel. Scrappy posted a meme with laughing emojis. Erica Dixon liked a shady comment accusing Kendra of manipulation. Rashida threw gasoline on the fire with a cryptic quote, "A strong woman doesn't need threats to stand strong." Even fans who usually stayed neutral couldn't resist choosing sides. The scandal had jumped from blogs to the cast to the streets of Atlanta. This wasn't just Jock versus Kendra anymore, it was a circus, and everyone was feeding on the flames of Kendra. Watching the narrative spiral, finally decided she couldn't keep quiet. She released a carefully written statement that looked more like a press release than a wife's plea. "Marriage is complicated. Arguments are heated. Words are said in anger. But make no mistake, I have always stood by my husband. Drafting papers was never about ending things, it was about protecting my peace." The words were polished, professional, but they backfired. Fans dragged her mercilessly. "Protecting your peace or protecting your pride?" One comment read. "Why your marriage sound like a courtroom closing argument?" Another mocked. Instead of defending her, the statement made her look colder, less human, more calculated. Then came the whispers that cut even deeper. The leak, fans argued, couldn't have been random. Somebody close to Kendra had slipped. Screenshots surfaced of a group chat where her assistant allegedly bragged about keeping receipts. Another rumor claimed one of Jock's baby mamas had ties inside her office. The theories multiplied like wildfire, and suddenly the scandal wasn't just about a husband and wife at war, it was about betrayal from within her own circle. Who had taken the photo? Who had decided to leak it? Who wanted to see her fall? For Kendra, this betrayal was the most dangerous part. Her entire identity was built on being trusted, respected, composed. Judges relied on her, clients put their livelihoods in her hands, colleagues admired her for her discipline. Now, that same network was under suspicion. Colleagues whispered in court hallways. Clients hesitated to sign papers. Even fellow attorneys side-eyed her like she had become a reality show storyline instead of a respected professional. Jock, meanwhile, seized the moment. He doubled down on his new image as the wronged husband. He posted a photo in a sharp suit with the caption, "Not a respondent. A man. A husband. A father. Don't forget it." The post went viral, pulling in tens of thousands of likes and comments. For once, Jock looked composed, dignified, even powerful. The same man fans had mocked as a clown was suddenly being praised for reclaiming his voice, and then, just when the fire seemed uncontrollable, Jock poured gasoline on it. In a late-night interview with a local Atlanta radio host, he dropped a bombshell. Calm, collected, his words deliberate, he said, "The leak? I know exactly where it came from. Somebody real close to her. Somebody she trusted. But see, loyalty don't live where fear runs the show." He didn't drop names. He didn't have to. The internet did the rest. Speculation exploded. Was it the assistant? The paralegal? A family friend? The mystery became bigger than the scandal itself. YouTube breakdowns, TikTok theories, Instagram threads, all focused on one question: who betrayed Kendra Robinson? By sunrise, Kendra wasn't just fighting her husband. She was fighting perception, betrayal, and a shadow war with her own circle. The papers she thought would give her control had instead stripped her of it completely. And the question hanging in the air was brutal: if this was just the first leak, what else was waiting to surface? When the first leak shook Atlanta, it felt like betrayal. When the second leak surfaced, it felt like war. And when the third wave of exposure hit, it felt like devastation. By late Friday night, as clubs filled with music and the city buzzed with weekend energy, bloggers began dropping screenshots of another set of papers, this time stamped, sealed, and looking official. Case numbers, letterheads, even courthouse seals appeared clear in the images. Fans zoomed in frame by frame, picking apart every detail like trained investigators. Whether they were legitimate filings or carefully doctored images didn't matter. In the world of love and hip-hop, perception always outweighs facts. The hashtag Kendra's final move trended globally before Kendra Robinson even opened her eyes. By morning, her phone was a weapon of destruction, buzzing with hundreds of messages from castmates, colleagues, even family. Some begged her to tell the truth. Others accused her of lying. A few asked the most cutting question of all: did you ever even love him, or was this all about control? This time, young Jock didn't hide, didn't stay silent, didn't leave space for speculation. He went live again, but the tone was completely different from his previous outburst. Gone was the pacing, shaky-voiced man desperate to be heard. This time, he was calm, collected, dressed in black, his gaze fixed straight into the camera. His words rolled out slowly, like daggers meant to land with precision. I told y'all somebody close to her was setting her up. 2 leaks back to back? 3? That don't just happen. You don't accidentally have divorce papers popping up online like mixtape flyers. That's not marriage. That's not trust. That's strategy. And I ain't nobody's case study. The calmness in his tone chilled more than any anger could. He wasn't begging to be understood anymore, he was declaring war. The blog spun like wheels on fire. Clips of Jock's live spread instantly, with fans dissecting his every pause and smirk. Was he accusing Kendra directly? Was he hinting at someone inside her team? Or was he masterminding the leaks himself? Every possibility fueled more speculation. Castmates took sides publicly now, no longer lurking in the shadows. Scrappy cracked jokes, writing, "This marriage got more leaks than my old tape," stirring thousands of laughing reactions. Erica Mina typed under a blog post, "You can't marry a case file and expect love." And Rashida, always careful but never absent, reposted another cryptic quote, "Real strength doesn't need threats." Suddenly, the scandal wasn't just theirs, it belonged to the entire cast, the blogs, and the fans who dissected every second like it was evidence. And then the story twisted again. One of Jock's oldest sons decided to speak. He went live, face tight with emotion, voice trembling with a mix of pain and frustration. "Every time y'all fight, she screaming divorce. Every time something go wrong, she waving papers. That's not family. That's not love. You don't scare somebody into loving you." The rawness in his tone broke fans more than any blog post could. It was no longer just about Jock and Kendra, it was about a child caught in the crossfire of a love-turned battlefield. People replayed the clip endlessly, their hearts cracking as his voice cracked too. In that moment, sympathy shifted hard. For many, Kendra wasn't just the cold lawyer anymore, she was the villain tearing a family apart with threats and legal drafts. The pressure built until Kendra snapped. At the reunion taping, cameras caught her storming onto the stage with a legal pad in hand. She slammed it down on the table in front of the cast, her voice shaking with fury. "Y'all wanna talk about leaks? Y'all wanna play lawyer? Then let's talk about receipts." Her eyes cut straight into Jock as she accused him of orchestrating the entire fiasco. "If anybody benefits from me looking like the heartless wife, it's you. Who else? Who else gains from turning my marriage into a storyline?" The cast froze, producers leaned forward, and the audience could almost feel the tension through the screen. This wasn't a wife defending her marriage, this was a lawyer cross-examining her own husband, but Jock didn't blink. He leaned back in his chair, smirked, and delivered the dagger, or maybe the truth just came out faster than you expected. His calm made her rage look unhinged. Fans watching later would call it the exact moment the tables turned completely. The attorney, usually untouchable, looked unstable. The husband, usually the clown, looked composed. It was a reversal no one expected, and the internet devoured it. The fallout reached beyond entertainment. Judges who once respected Kendra now side-eyed her professionalism. Potential clients avoided her office. Blogs ran stories claiming her law firm was bleeding business over love and hip-hop drama. Whether it was exaggerated or not, the damage was done. In Atlanta's tight-knit circles, perception became reality, and the perception was brutal. The polished armor she had spent years building was cracking under the weight of public exposure, and then came the final blow. A third leak hit the internet, not documents this time, but a private audio recording. In it, Kendra's voice poured through, soft, exhausted, confiding to a friend words she never thought the world would hear. Sometimes I think I didn't marry Jock. I married his image. I married the idea of fixing him. And now I'm the one who feels broken. The world gasped. In less than a minute of raw honesty, everything collapsed. Supporters turned on her, memes mocked her, and blogs replayed the voice note endlessly. To fans, it was proof, not of love, but of control, regret, and weakness. Jock, sensing victory, capitalized immediately. He posted a single caption that exploded across the internet: "Love don't need contracts. Control does." Tens of thousands of likes poured in. Thousands of comments echoed his words. It wasn't just shade anymore, it became a cultural catchphrase, repeated across timelines, quoted in interviews, even printed on shirts by opportunistic vendors. Jock had flipped humiliation into empowerment. Kendra, meanwhile, was drowning. By the time the season finale reunion arrived, the stage lights burned brighter than ever. The cast sat in a tense semicircle, all eyes on the couple at war. Kendra sat upright, jaw clenched, hands gripping the armrest of her chair, a thick stack of papers sitting in front of her like weapons she still wasn't sure how to use. Jock leaned back comfortably, arms folded, smirk plastered on his face. The picture of calm arrogance. The host looked from one to the other and asked the question the entire city had been waiting for. So tell us, are these papers just a bluff, or is this the final move? The cameras zoomed closer. The tension was suffocating. Kendra's lips parted, eyes burning with a mix of fury and regret. Jock's smirk didn't fade, only grew sharper. The audience leaned forward, castmates held their breath, fans at home sat glued to the screen. And just as she opened her mouth to speak, the screen cut to black, leaving Atlanta, the internet, and the world hanging on the edge of an answer that may never come.